Jake is coming off a year where BYU, quite frankly, was railroaded to not get into the playoff. I have long held that on this show. It's not just because you're here and I like to impress you, but rather that was a held belief here in the Big 12. Back-to-back 11-win seasons. But it's kind of felt like a weird portal window for the Cougars. Why?
Because they only brought in 9 players, and that's kind of been the weird thing is that in this day and age of the portal, that's just an extremely small class. But I've talked with guys like Spencer McLaughlin from Locked On College Football. I've talked with our good friend Drake Toll about this. And the thing is, on paper, it may look like an abnormal thing for BYU to have brought in that few of players, but Cam, really, the thing BYU is banking on is continuity because they bring back everybody that had eligibility left of their starting lineup from last season. They're all back. They checked every single box. You can go down that list, and I'd be hard-pressed to find another Power 4, let alone a G6 program that did what BYU did, and that lent itself to the fact that you probably spent more of your money when it comes to NIL and the transfer portal, revenue share, et cetera, on retaining your roster versus going out and finding people. But yeah, it's an abnormally small class, but I think I'll use this. It was more quality versus quantity for BYU.
Love that. I love that. But you're right. Like even today, and even the spot that BYU's in, it feels like a low number.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, the resources that BYU has, it feels like kind of a low number. I know it's not, no one is apples to Tech in this conference. It's handled a little differently, but it does feel odd. But when you can keep guys from an 11-win team, I think that is a good idea.
So the thing I want to kind of lob back your way is Dave Aranda seems to have 9 lives. That's just my perception up here in Utah, watching what's happening in Waco. And he just continues to just find a way to stick around. And
he's
who
like
knows?
A Twinkie after a nuclear reaction, man.
Okay, that's good. But the thing is, they brought in DJ Lagway for Baylor, and that he figures to be the starting quarterback, replacing Sawyer Robertson. And I think on paper, it's a really nice addition there. But I think BYU, where they brought in a really small class, and they may add a handful of more guys, just how spring ball goes. And there's no reason people that are in the portal still can't. There's no, I guess, prohibition from them coming out of the portal at any point. But the bigger thing I want to get from your vantage point is Baylor. They're more they need to hit the portal hard. And they brought in DJ Lagway as kind of the headliner of this class. Is this the class that is going to give Dave Aranda another life in Waco?
I want to say yes, I do. I just don't know how it does. And honestly, like the last week or so has been like a slap in the face, really looking at this portal class, being like, this is actually not good. Lagway's good. Lagway was the best you could do at quarterback, right? Like to bring in a high profile player like that, who still has obviously stuff to work on, but a ton of potential and some eligibility. But like I see this roster and I'm like, I can't get to 5 wins yet. Like I can't venture that far to 5 wins. I mean, they needed a quarterback. They did. I didn't know if they were going to go depth guy and start one of their young players, a guy who had played, a lot of college football. Like JC French was one of the guys they looked at from Georgia Southern. Like that's a guy who started a lot of games. They ended up going for big fish in DJ Lagway. And I do think it's hurt the rest of their roster, I think, financially. Like this is a team that did need a quarterback, but they desperately needed an offensive and defensive line. They needed somebody who could protect a passer and guys who could get after a passer. Because I don't know if you remember this, Jake, but they had a good quarterback last year. Quarterback was not the issue.
Sawyer Robertson's awesome. Like he was fantastic.
Statistically, he's one of the best quarterbacks Baylor's ever had. Like a top 10 quarterback they've ever had. And that got you to 5 wins. Okay. Yeah. They needed a lot of other help. And granted, they did need help kind of across the board because they lost a bunch of guys. But I see, okay, you got 2 tackles. Neither one of them was like a nailed on starter at a good program. You had one that was a starter at a bad program and one who wasn't really starting at another bad program. Yeah. So I'm not seeing that they got all that much better where they needed to get better. And this was Dave Aranda after the last game, that end of the year press conference was talking about lines. We got to build from the inside out. We got to build from the trenches out. And they didn't do it. They brought in, I think, a promising pass rusher from Kansas State with Joe Klanderman coming in as the DC. But I don't think they did it, man.
So, okay, so that's kind of the point I've been kind of looking at from BYU's perspective. They went up against Texas Tech twice last year in the regular season and in the Big 12 title game. And both times, Texas Tech dominated offensive and defensive line-wise. They just absolutely mauled BYU, and there was really nothing else BYU could do because, frankly, they just couldn't hold up against the relentless pass rush. And I have said it myself that BYU, I think, looked across the field at what Joey McGuire and the Red Raiders have and said, you know what, we need to get that. I think Texas Tech showed that to the rest of the Big 12 conference. Baylor needs that. Every team in this conference needs that. It's much easier said than done. And BYU, they have an interesting dynamic here, how they're going about it here, Cam, is they added 3 offensive linemen because I think they understand that, hey, we needed to bolster that unit maybe by bringing some portal guys in. And I think all 3 guys they brought in on that offensive line, I think they have chances to be part of the 2 deep, if not start for BYU. But on the flip side, they didn't bring in a single defensive lineman. They're betting on continuity with young talent on the D line, and just in terms of development and growing another year in the system to be the answer for them. And I am genuinely curious to see, okay, BYU did portal on the offensive line, bet on continuity on the defensive line, which philosophy bears out here. But that will be interesting to see from Baylor's perspective, because to your point, they bring in a high-profile quarterback, but if you can't protect that quarterback, and BYU can tell you all about it with Bear Bachmeier, there's nothing you can do about it. You're going to be hamstrung against the likes of a Texas Tech.
The Patriots, actually.
Well, yeah, no, trust me. I use that analogy on my show. The Seattle Seahawks defensive line owned that game against New England.
Mm-hmm. And it made the runner-up to the MVP look like that.
Yeah.
Like that. And he didn't play that well either, but still, he was under duress the whole night. If I may, I'm not going to talk about the Super Bowl anymore. But looking at that, I mean, this could be coughing baby versus coughing baby in terms of the defensive line versus Baylor's offensive line when that game comes around. But I wish, hey, it's kind of a luxury to test out the continuity theory. It's kind of a luxury, Jake. I'll say that.
And that's it. Yeah, BYU's been pretty lucky. Let's be honest. They've put together a 23-4 record over the past 2 years. They've been on the doorstep of the college football playoff for 2 years running. And you're right. I think a lot of people think they got railroaded when it came to the playoff this past year. The hope is that they can break through this year, and that's going to require them to be able to play with the best teams in the conference. Now, BYU does avoid Texas Tech in the regular season this year, and we'll see if that helps or hurts them. But I think that they have seen what Tech has built and said, you know what, that's the archetype of what we need to chase. And I think every other top program in college football, you look at the Indianas, the Ohio States, you move down the list to the Alabamas, what they have is they got elite trench play. And I think Baylor and BYU can both look at that and say, yeah, we need more of that ourselves. And I will reiterate, it's much easier said than done, because finding those guys and getting the best out of them, that's the tough part in this scenario.
So another double-digit win season for the Cougs upcoming.
We'll see.
We've got a date with it again. Jake Hatch, Locked On Cougs, Locked On BYU. That'll get you there too, but it is Locked On Cougars. Cam Stuart of Locked On Baylor. Hey, thank you guys, from the everydayers to the newbies, especially you everydayers. I mean, you are the lifeblood of what we do here. So thank you for making it your first listen today and every day. Get in the comment section. Tell us how much you love having us together. Then like the video, subscribe to the channel. That helps us keep our jobs. And maybe some score predictions. Drop some of those in the comment section below. And we will see you on the next version of either Locked On Baylor or Locked On Cougars.